I think
You're live.
we might actually be live. Wow.
Yeah.
Here we go. Not a problem. G'day, folks. How's it going? A few technical issues. I forgot how to set up the live stream from Zoom to the YouTubes. So we're just getting the screen all sorted out here. Love to say g'day to you all down in the chat if you're on the chat there at all. In fact, I'm going to bring that up. Rightio, so I can actually see people who are here as well now. We are getting slightly better at this. Trust me, slightly. So who have we got? Red Scorpion, how's it going, Red Scorpion? Bullville Prepper, how are you? EMT, I know who you are. Have you done the greenhouse yet? Have you've just bought it, or is it actually built, or is it a kit that you've got to build? I've got to remember the camera's up there, isn't it? Yeah. Hello. G'day, Owen. How's it going, mate? I did read your message this morning, and yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've started to skip over my emails now. There's that many I'm getting at the moment, so yeah, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. Good morning, Ben, Rob. Hello, Bramley Hills. Bianca, hello. Oh, hello. Bianca is here. Hillbilly Prepper. G'day, Terry. How's it going? So I don't know how many people are in. We've got 21 people in at the moment. Jax the Super Kid. G'day, Jax. G'day, Curtis. Ended up taking the tomatoes out before they sprouted in the makeshift aquaponics system above my 30 gal. Put strawberries in it. That wasn't doing too well, and they exploded overnight. Yeah, there you go. Strawberries love the aquaponics. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but we're being serenaded by a butcher bird at the moment. Bruce Wayne, new effort for me. G'day, Bruce. Yeah, so yeah, strawberries absolutely love the aquaponics system. He's gone. So, just quickly, folks, as well, what we want to do today, just to give you a little bit of a heads up, I'm just going to ramble on for a little while longer just to let some more people come into the stream. How many we got there? 32. What we're doing is we're playing a video. It's a semi-edited video. I actually was just going to sit here and read it from a script basically for you this week. But I had a look through what I'd written up, and I decided it was good enough for a video for YouTube. And I'll be adding a version of it over on our guide as well, because the guide is lacking some information on actually starting plants out. So I've got this one. And there's going to be another one I'll be doing on actual starting plants, whether they're from seeds, from cuttings, jack out of the potting mix, cuttings, taking divisions from other people's plants and that sort of thing. So doing a bit of a rough tutorial on that. The methods we've used, as well as other people. Rob Torsolini over at Bigelow Brook Farms. G'day, Rob, if you're watching. He's got a really nifty little system where he's using small expanded shale. He's got a little upside down, almost like one of those little pet or dog waterers, where it's a plastic bottle and it releases a little bit of water at a time. And anyway, hop over to Rob's channel, Bigelow Brook Farm, and look for seed starts, and that video will probably pop up. Morning, Leslie. And Disassembled starts next Saturday. Good to hear, mate. New Polly, excellent. Hello, Stephen. Yeah, so there are a couple of other videos that will be coming down the track, and I might do them. Sorry, there's midges flying around. I might do them a bit like this one here, where we've got maybe do a live viewing first, so you guys can ask me questions down the side. And if I've messed anything out from the video itself, I can then see what you guys want information on. And I can add that into the video just to make it more complete, and helps everyone all around on YouTube when they suss it out. So if there are any questions, if anyone does have any questions, can you pop them in all caps? It'll just make it easier for Bianca to find them. Thanks to Jack Spiritco for that one. It just makes a lot more sense if they just really stand out in all caps. They'll be easier for us to get to after the hangout. I got the sand beds all planted, sent you a couple of, cool. The secret squirrel for the next video. Cool. So Owen's doing a little bit of experimentation with the sand beds, and when we go up there and we have a bit of a chat about it, yeah, there's something we're going to show you up there. Might tickle your fancies. He's actually just cleared out the beds. Like if you're on the Aussie, I think he may have done it in the IAVS, the new group, the Aussie Aquaponics. If you're an Australian, it's an Aussie only group. Sorry, folks. He's posted a couple of pictures of the nude sand beds, and I don't know if he's popped them up on any other groups or anything like that. So it looks like he's going to be planting out, and once it's going full bore, a couple of bits of greenery growing in there, I'll pop up there. So cool to see you here, Owen. Awesome setup, Curtis. Wish I could hang out. Phone's about to die. Catch you on the replay tomorrow. Yep, not a problem, mate. The replay will only be up for about a week or so, and then it will be replaced by the actual video. And yeah, got about 29 people in there. Some people have left. They got bored of me just nattering on. So what we might do is we might hit play now, because I've worked out how to make the sound come through. Yeah, and if I don't know if you just heard Bianca, but if you can't hear the video when I press play, can you let us know in the chat? Pop your questions down in the chat, and I may stop the video in one or two places where I just want to clarify something. But yeah, pop your questions down there and we'll cover them as we get to them. So we will share the screen. We'll share that one there, and we're going to share the sound this time. So please let me know if the sound comes through, guys.
G'day folks, it's Rob here, and in today's video we're going to be chatting about how to set yourself up to grow veggies successfully in your first aquaponics system, and also what are the best varieties to plant when you're first starting out.
As I said, it's partially edited. It's not 100% edited at the moment. I've just whacked a few little bits and pieces in there. So yeah, it's pretty rough and ready. A bit of an insight on some of the behind the scenes stuff.
Now, before we get into what plants grow best in a brand new aquaponics system, I thought I'd touch on a couple of pointers for you folks that are new to aquaponics growing method, so you can grow healthy, tasty veg as soon as you turn on the water pump for the very first time. Now, after an aquaponics system is set up and the water is flowing, you're going to need to cycle the system before you add the fish. How a system is cycled can greatly affect the number of plants you can start off with and how well they're going to grow for you. Now, for you folks new to aquaponics, cycling the system means that we need to create a nitrogen cycle within the ecosystem, that is the aquaponics system. We need to do this to transform the ammonia produced by the fish into fish-friendly and plant-available nitrates. What I'll do for you folks new to aquaponics is I'll leave a link down in the description that covers how to cycle an aquaponics system and also runs through some of the equipment you're going to need, just for you aqua-curious folks who are thinking about building your own system. A lot of people cycle their system with a straight ammonia source, like pure cleaning ammonia that contains no scents or other additives. Just a heads up for you Aussies, pure ammonia is unavailable here as a cleaning product, as it can also be used for more nefarious applications. Our cleaning ammonia has other additives that are not good for the fish or the plants in the aquaponics system, and actually can be a little bit toxic. Now, there is an ammonium source us Aussies and other folks around the world can use, and it's called ammonium chloride. It's available from places like soap making suppliers, and it's also used in the aquarium hobby trade as the ammonia of choice for cycling those smaller fish tank systems. One issue you will find when you are cycling a system only with an ammonia-based source is that you're only adding one element, and that's ammonia, which ultimately turns into nitrate. Now, nitrate is a great source of nitrogen for the plants, but plants require more elements to grow than just nitrogen. Many folks that cycle with just ammonia will find that their freshly added seedlings start to look very pale, often yellow, after a week or so not that lush green growth they were expecting to see straight up. Now, to help with any deficiencies that you may have by just adding ammonia, you can add in something like a liquid or a powdered kelp supplement. It's going to help with a lot of the deficiencies because you're only getting the ammonia or nitrate in the system. So a little bit of that doesn't hurt when you're cycling a system. And not only that, it is fish safe as well. So after the cycling process has been completed, you can continue to add it into the system just to help out with any deficiencies that you might find. When it comes to cycling, I prefer to use a fish emulsion called Charlie Carp, made from the invasive European carp that we have here destroying our waterways in Australia. It's only available in Australia, but there are very similar fish emulsion products available around the world, such as MaxiCrop liquid fish. These products are not only fish safe, meaning they won't leave any residue in the system that could harm the fish once you add them, but they're almost a complete fertiliser. Not totally complete, but it has a lot of elements in there that the plants will need to grow healthfully. Just to give you an example of some of the elements, the nutrient breakdown list of the Charlie Carp shows it has phosphorus, calcium, potassium, copper, manganese, iron, molybdenum, boron, as a few others as well. So it is a fairly complete plant food. And as you can see, with those elements, it just is a really good all-round product to use, not only to get the cycling process happening, but also to give the plants a load of nutrition. Now, even though you may have cycled the system using a fish emulsion-based product or supplemented the ammonia you've added with a little bit of kelp product, we're still going to need to keep in mind that you're most likely going to be adding very small young fish once the system is cycled. Now, these fingerlings will not be consuming a large amount of feed, therefore not providing a lot of nitrate and other nutrients for the plants to take up. Now, unfortunately, I see many folks start to cycle their system and fully plan out all the beds with a load of tomatoes, greens of various varieties, herbs, capsicum, sweet peppers, after getting pretty bad advice, quite frankly, of social media groups or dodgy websites, and they just don't perform very well at all. Now, the truth is there just is not going to be enough nutrition in the small amount of fish feed your fingerlings require to be able to sustain a fully planted out aquaponics system. So what we're going to need to do is work out how many plants our system can sustain on the small amount of feed we'll be giving our newly added fingerlings or young fish. Now, just a quick heads up on the feed calculations for commercial aquaponic systems. They're a lot more in depth as they have to run a tighter ship all round. They need to run their systems as efficiently as possible, allowing them to run as profitably as possible, or they just wouldn't be able to stay in operation. We're dealing with backyard aquaponics systems here, so a lot of the figures I'll be using will be generalisations. Now, to kick us off, we'll look at an example.
Rightio, folks. I just wanted to pause the video there. In this section here, I'm actually using weights of fish and basically amounts of food, as in weighed out grams. It's not how I generally recommend you feed your fish. Pretty much the best way to feed your fish is to get a container, weigh that with some feed in it, weigh that container, and then slowly add in the fish feed a little bit at a time until the fish stop feeding. Then weigh that container, and that container will subtract what's left from the original weight, and that'll give you how much weight of food is actually going into the system. I'm just using this, the amount here in this section of the video, just to give you some idea of the volume of feed that does go into the grow beds. So it just makes it easier rather than having to explain all that. I'll put a little bit of text over here that says I prefer feeding by the satiation method. And yeah, that'll be added into the video. I just wanted to add it here because I do get people asking me for feed rate charts all the time. And there are commercial ones, but as I was saying, they're a little bit more picky because they have to make every dollar count, every saving count. So yeah, with our backyard systems, we can just feed to satiation, and that way we know the fish are getting everything they want. Plus, it also helps us too if we know we're only adding in, say, half a cups a day, and then test it in a month's time, and they may be going up a quarter of a cup. Yeah, so it's just one of those things. It gives you an idea on how much you're feeding, and yeah, the fish get everything they want. That's enough for me rambling on. Back to the hairy git.
Of the amount of feed consumed by 25 jade perch fingerlings that weigh approximately 5 grams each. And I will be working in grams as a unit of measurement, but as fish feed rates are calculated by percentage of weight, you folks in the United States should be able to get the basic idea. Now, onto the feed calculations in proper. In this example, we'll say a 5 gram fish generally consumes around about 2% of its body weight twice a day. And the easiest way to work out the total amount of feed needed to be given to our 25 fish is to find out the total biomass being the total weight of the fish in the fish tank, and then work out the 2% from there. Now, 25 fish at 5 grams each give us a total biomass of 125 grams in the fish tank. 2% of 125 grams is 2.5 grams. Now, as we're feeding the fish twice a day, that gives us a whopping total of 5 grams of fish feed per day that will be ultimately passing through the fish and become food for the plants in the grow beds. As to the amount of fish feed that needs to enter the system so the plants can grow nice and healthy, varies depending on which source you look up online. It's generally calculated as X amount of feed at a particular percentage weight of protein per X amount of surface area the plants are grown in. Now, the feed most of us use to feed our fish in our backyard aquaponics systems run protein-wise around about 30 to 45%, which, you know, for our purposes is within the ranges I've seen quoted on commercial sites when it comes to feed to plant area ratios. Now, for my own system, I like to use roughly around about a 20 to 50 grams of fish feed per 1 square metre or 9 square feet of grow bed space for basic leafy greens and herbs, as they have relatively low nutrient requirements. Now, when it comes to my fruiting plants, I prefer the feed rate to be over 50 grams per square metre or 9 square feet, just because those plants do tend to be a little bit more nutrient demanding. I mean, it's not just leafy greens, they're actually putting on fruit for us to pick as well. Now, back to our measly little 5 grams of fish feed for the fingerlings. As you can see, it's not going to support a lot of plants when we first start out. Now, depending on how we've cycled the system, we may have a bit of a nutrient bank of nitrogen in there, as well as other elements if you've been adding in kelp or the seaweed additive, or you use something like the Charlie Carp fish emulsion. I would caution you at this point against adding any extra fish emulsion or ammonia sources in there to boost the nitrogen level in your system after you've added the fish, as high nitrate levels can impact the health of some fish species while they're very young. One thing you can keep adding to keep the plants healthy is the kelp or seaweed additive, as it has very little, if any, ammonia or nitrogen, and it is going to help provide some extra potassium. It's fairly high in potassium, as well as other microelements that may not be in abundance in the waste provided by the fish after they assimilate the food. As the fish do put on more size, they will require more feed naturally, and you're going to see this reflected in the nitrate test results. As the levels rise, you can start adding in more plants to the grow beds. So I'll just give you a rough example of this. Say once the fish are 250 grams in weight, halfway to their 500 grams or 1 pound harvest size, they have a rough feed rate of around about 2.5% of their body weight per day. So say 25 fish at 250 grams gives us a total biomass of 6,250 grams in the fish tank. 2.5% of 6,250 grams is 156.25 grams of feed given daily, allowing us to have a lot more grow bed area planted out. So that gives you some idea that really in no time flat, probably about 3 to 4 months with the jade perch, you're going to have enough nutrients in the system to have 3 grow beds, say 3 square metres, fully planted out. So yeah, it's one of those things, it's just a little bit of a waiting game, but soon enough you're going to have some high quality, top-notch veg harvested from the system and on your dinner plate. I hope that helps you get your head around the nutrient cycle when you first start off an aquaponics system, and just how much is actually in there for when you plant out. And by all means, put those seedlings in there as soon as you start the cycle, because in no time flat, the nitrates will turn up and the plants will be able to use them. So that's enough of that. Now on to what are the best plants to actually stick in the grow beds once you start cycling the system. Now, the best advice I can give you when it comes to deciding what to plant out in the grow beds first off is plant out what you like to eat. It's really no good planting out half a dozen pretty heirloom looking eggplants if you're only going to use one fruit in a meal every blue moon. You're better off looking for plants that you and the family are going to consume on a regular basis and start off with them. You can look at expanding to other varieties that you may not have tried later on down the track if you're new to growing your own fruit and veg. As we've already seen, there's not going to be a great deal of nitrate or other elements floating around the system for the plants to consume. So what I'd recommend is you start out with 5 to 10 small leafy greens or small herb plants to begin with, as these plants have relatively low nutrient requirements. You can then monitor the nitrate levels regularly with the test kit that you use to cycle your system, and you can add in new plants as you find the nitrates start to climb. Now, my pick of plants with a low nutrient requirement to get you started, and they also suit a wide selection of growing zones around the world, would be leafy greens and herbs, as I mentioned just before. Plants such as Asian greens like bok choy or pak choy, lettuces of all varieties with the cut and come again and the loose leaf being our favourite, along with the cos. We don't mind the cos and they're also known as romaine by you folks over in the States. Radishes and beets or beetroot, celery, chard, which is also known as silver beet here in Australia, and fennel, they're also among the low nutrient demanding plants that you might like to try to start off with. As for the herbs, you know, there's loads of herbs. Chives, you've got your parsley, your sage, green onions, basil, thyme, oregano. They're also great selections when you're just starting off. So even though that I've just listed off a whole heap of different plants that you could start your aquaponics system with, remember that it's probably best only to start off with 5 to 10 to begin with, and then you can pretty much will add new plants in as you start to see that nitrate start to rise in your tests. Some ideas for where to get single plants: you can buy semi-advanced plants from some nurseries as one-offs. You might have friends or family that grow their own herbs, and you might be able to pop some of them in the system. Green onions, you buy them from the shops. They got a little bit of the root left down on the base, very easy to grow. Chop off down probably to about 1 inch or 2.5 centimetres from the very base. Pop that in the grow bed, and within no time flat, you're going to have more green onions growing. You might even have a family member that has a nice stand of oregano or thyme, and you might be able to pull out a little section of that and pop that in your grow bed just to get you started. I wouldn't worry about washing off the roots of those plants if they come from healthy soil, because that soil will also contain other bacteria that may help cycle the system or break down other elements later on to make them available to the plants. I do hope that this video has helped you folks out who are new to aquaponics and looking for a little bit of information so you can start up your own system. I'd also like to thank you folks who do turn up every week just to say good day when I post these videos to YouTube and Rumble. I really do appreciate it. Also need to thank those awesome folks who are supporting us via our supporters pages, Farm Your Own Yard, the YouTube membership page, and also the Patreon page. People ask me to start it. No one's joined, but it is there if you are interested. And don't forget, we also do have our shop and our Aquaponics Beginner's Guide if you'd like to help.
There you go, folks. That's enough of that. So there you go. That's basically the video. I've just tucked it together, and then I go in later and I add all the B-roll and that sort of stuff, just for you folks who are curious about the process. Sorry, a little bit sketchy this morning. Yeah, so it's hopefully going to help a lot of people out who just get started, because it's one of the questions I get all the time. I've just started a system. My plants don't look any good. The tomatoes aren't fruiting. They're not flowering properly. Oh, they're flowering, but they're not setting fruit. I've put 4 of them in the grow bed, and I've got some lettuce, and I've got a rosemary, and I've got this and that. And then they then tell me they got 25 tilapia that are this big. And it's just one of those things, guys. You just need to take it slow and slowly build up your nutrients. So I thought it was worth doing a video. It was actually really weird. I got the question again and decided to do it. Add it to the list of the 3 videos that I was going to make, and yeah, I knocked that one out in record time for some reason. I've been very focused on doing work on the book and the guide every day, and this one just came really easy. So yeah, hopefully it helps a few people out. And the other videos that I added as choice, there was radial flow settlers, and also setting up layout wise the aquaponics system. They will be coming as well. Actually, was it a radial flow? It was, yeah, video on filters, I believe. Yeah, because I do get a lot of questions on them as well. Not just radial flow settlers, but different ways to build them. I mean, there's baffle filters, there's swirl filters, even though I've never used one myself. There's mechanical filters. We're using sponges and material. So yeah, they're down on the to-do list for videos as well. Just going to have a very, very busy couple of weeks here, just helping some family out. So yeah, we'll get to those videos a bit later. So we have Mr. Hilbury. Do I have a paper book? If you can put the questions in caps, that'd help us find it. Thanks. Not that we're going to be flooded like other channels. I don't have a paper book at this point in time, but everything I'm doing with the guide is leading that way. When I say guide, not only the retrieve guide, the online interactive guide, but there's also another guide that I'm making up, just PDF downloads that will have links to videos that will go on a standalone website that I've got. It's the robsaquaponics.info. Where is it? There we go. It's up there on the screen. There, up there, up there. That's where my supporters site stuff is housed, and I can host guides there and downloads as well. There's a free download there if you're interested and you're new to aquaponics. So that will be a PDF guide, and eventually people have suggested that I go to, was it Amazon? And you set out the book in a certain format and they print on demand. So I don't know if I'll do it through Amazon, but I'm sure I can find a service, a small Aussie service who will do that for me. And that paper book will come down the line. So there you go. Yeah, actually I can answer that. Just excuse me leaning over in front of you, big beard there. At the moment, starts. Where are we? There we go. Starts. I've got some cos lettuce to go in, and I've got some bok choy supporters. I've posted a video to the supporters channel this week. Behind me in that video, you saw all the manky-looking broccoli. We've just been harvesting leaves and side shoots off them. So in that bed there, we're going to put the cos or romaine lettuce. These little fellows, marigold or two as well. And in the other bed with the cage over the top of it, we're going to be putting the bok choy because, we're starting to see the cabbage butterflies. They weren't really around all winter, and then things have slightly got warmer, a little bit warmer, and we're starting to see the cabbage butterflies, so they'll go into that protected bed. And the marigolds, we'll probably end up putting some of them up here on the deck. We've also got, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm going to show, I'm going to pop some mint in the system. I just got it here in a glass of water. And my dear old mum gave me some of her rosemaries. There we go, rosemaries. They've started to get some roots on them, you might be able to see. So we'll pop some of them. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, babe. We'll pop some of them in the system as well. Rosemary is really good. It loves the aquaponics. Some people will say that it likes, doesn't like wet feet. And just for you folks who aren't aware, when something doesn't like wet feet, it's not that it doesn't like wet roots, it's that it likes a lot of oxygen around its roots. And with the flood and drain grow beds, we've been able to grow massive rosemary in the past. I had a professional landscaper tell me I couldn't grow lavender in aquaponics for the same reason. And we had, there's a couple of photos online, I think it's on one of the websites as one of the main photos, a massive lavender plant that took over a whole corner of the bed. It just loved it that much because it is flooding and draining all the time. So, hey, Bruce, welcome to Extra Content. Thanks, Bruce. Has Bruce left a question? No. Oh yeah. So sorry, Hillbilly. I think it's easier to start your seeds off in little punnets. I save all the punnets we get from the big box store, and then what I do is I just get a normal. I could do a demonstration here, but the siev's downstairs. I get a normal potting mix. What's wrong? Oh, the bigger seeds. Yeah, the bigger seeds you can pop in straight away, like beans and peas. We've sowed out straight away. Even beetroot. Beetroot or a cluster seed. So within that little spiky ball, there's probably anywhere up to about 7 seeds with beetroot. Silver beet's another thing, or chard, they're the same family. So you can pop them in. I don't worry about dividing them though in the aquaponics. I just let them all grow together and then just harvest them as need be, or just harvest them for their greens. So the larger seeds are okay. With the seed starts, this is something that's going to go into that video. I just get my favorite potting mix and I run it through a sieve, and all the fine stuff that comes out, I use that as my seed start now. I used to make up cocoa core and with a bit of sand and all the rest of it. Seriously, the seed has enough energy to get started within it. I mean, that's what they're designed to do, get the plant off to a good start. Started off in some of that sieved potting mix, and then from there transplanted into the aquaponics system. The one thing I would add in if I had some on the go at the moment would be some worm casts. That's about the only other thing I would add in, mainly because worms do produce enzymes that are beneficial for plants and roots and that sort of thing. So maybe some watering with some sort of seaweed or kelp to get it off to a good start. That's another good recommendation I'd have. I've found it works really well. So just anecdotal, not scientifically tested. I know everyone loves the science. So I hope that helps, mate. Yeah, and that is going to be one of the videos I do soon, starting seeds and plants. Yes. Oh, you showing me. Making my filter advice. Yes, filter advice will be coming. I pretty much will like the radial flow settlers. You can make a baffle filter that does pretty much all the same thing. Works in the same way, just by creating a wall in a tank and have the water coming up an up pipe, and then it stays within that compartment, just a small walled off section of a tank, and then it has to go down under the baffle, which is basically what the stilling well is in a radial flow filter. I think I've mentioned it before. Technically, what I call a radial flow filter isn't a radial flow filter. Rob from Bigelow Brook Farm, his filter is a radial flow filter because the water exits radially over the weir, that is the sawtooth weir that's around the outside, and then collects to a central drain pipe and takes it out. We're using the same rough build method for the stilling well, the up pipe and the exit drain. We just don't have that sawtooth weir around the outside to take the radial flow out. So, but it's essentially the same description. You have a butcher bird. No, Jackie, leave him alone. Let him eat his treat. Hey. Jack gets very friendly with the butcher birds. He's not aggressive towards them, but they're just too young. Yeah, so the filters will be something I definitely cover. Stephen?
Do you have to do very hot weather? They have 39 plus temps, lots of days in summer. How do you handle hot weather for the fish?
For the fish, the jade perch love it. We had a couple of years ago, we had over 40 degrees, which is 100 and something Fahrenheit. It was 41, 42 for about almost 10 days straight, I think. I love it because I'm a bit of a lizard. Don't take that the wrong way, queuing on people. So they absolutely love it. The water temp got up to about 33, 34, and yeah, they just smashed the feed. I did have real concerns before that. I had some high temperatures up around 30 degrees and I was really concerned. But then after speaking to people in the industry, they said, yeah, probably don't feed them too much, just in case the water temperature went right up over 35 degrees. But yeah, they still hit the feed. They still did okay. I just made sure I didn't feed them too much. Tilapia, if you're in America, tilapia like fairly hot water as well. And sorry, hot water, warm water as well. So I don't think it is a big issue with them. I'm fairly sure, but don't quote me on it, they're around the same tolerance as a jade perch, so they can handle water up to about 35 degrees. Don't quote me on it. Have a look at any resources you can find. Oh yeah, for the plants obviously, yeah, the plants obviously suffer. So we shake cloth over the top. And also too, having, especially if you're using rock or clay, because it acts as a thermal mass, if as much greenery growing over the top of the beds as possible, that definitely helps as well. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, waterfall. If you can build it into your system, like a cascading waterfall helps as well. Also a little bit more of that evaporation. I've seen people get jets that they spray across the top of their tank to try and help cool the water down. Not something I've tried myself, but apparently it does work. So there you go. Whereabouts are you, Stephen? Always interested to know where people come from. I think you may be the Stephen from Arizona. I may be wrong. But let us know.
On the flip side,
Cold winters. Depends how cold. I have seen people say they just leave their goldfish in the system and let it freeze solid because they saw that they can survive freezing waters. I think JT Bear did a video ages ago where the goldfish froze when he just moved to his, well, new at that point in time place. So he'd actually be a good channel to go and have a look at, JT Bear, and see what he recommends. He's up in the north of America and he has goldfish, hard freezes in winter, and I actually haven't checked in on him in months, so I don't know if he's got an aquaponics system running this year. So yeah, goldfish and trout. If you're in an area that allows trout, because I know they are, some places don't allow them because they're classed as an invasive species. I'm not too sure about that in the States. Trout are a good one. Down south, loads of people use trout here in Australia. Even at the moment, I saw someone with a tiger trout this morning on one of the face palm groups, and yeah, very pretty looking fish. Melbourne Aquaponics, whatever he's rebranded himself to, Aquaponics Revolution, he uses golden trout, and you can use brown trout and rainbow trout here in Australia, and they all do fairly well in cooler climates. I think, yeah, you're starting to have issues once the water temp reaches around about 22 Celsius. They just, yeah, they have oxygenation. They high demand of oxygen. As water temperature, as oxygen lowers, dissolved oxygen in the water. So yeah, that can be a bit of an issue. So I hope that helps. The radial flow filter exit pipe, as long as it's under the outlet pipe in the your side of your fish tank, the solids lifting exit, if that's how you, or solids lifting drain pipe work exit, if that's how you got it plumbed. As long as it's below that, you're pretty much all laughing. I've had it because the water level in your radial flow filter will be dictated by the height of the exit plumbing as where the water leaves. You can have it down lower in the stilling well if you want, below the surface of the water. I've had it above. I really don't see a big issue with the flow rates we're talking in backyard aquaponic systems with having it either above or below, just as long as it's below that exit pipe in the fish tank. 100 mil, 4 inches, that's pretty much all I don't have it too much closer. You can though, depending on the size of the pipes. But yeah. Hope that helps, Guy. Hey, how are you, mate? Steve's over in Thailand. Cool. So you got the job, or was it holidays? Good morning from Thailand. Almost smack dab in the center of the country. I can't. I don't have a passport. The only time I've been overseas is to Moreton Island and to Bribey. Bribey's got a bridge, yeah. So yeah, probably wouldn't hurt to look for your percentage, your feed percentage. From memory, tilapia do okay on the high 20s, low 30% protein. Again, I'm not a tilapia expert. I've only read a little bit on it because we're not allowed them here in Australia, even though they're all through the river systems, like 100 meters that way. So definitely look at getting a correct feed for them. And water temperature may be an issue as well. I know they do like the jade perch. Once the water temperature drops a bit here, the perch just go off their feed. It could be the same issue where you are too. Could also be water quality, other water quality issues. If the pH is fluctuating a lot, that can sometimes put the fish off their feed as well. The same with if you end up with elevated ammonia and nitrite, but if your system cycled and stable, is more than likely just a water temperature, or they just sometimes are just picky with the feed. If they're new in the system, and maybe just getting them used to the feed that you're using, if they were fed something different at the hatchery or wherever you got them from. So there are a couple of things to consider, mate. Hey, Karim, how's it going? Hi, Joe. How's it going, mate? I chat to Joe all the time. He's a very regular gentleman. Biofloc system. Yeah, no, I don't. I get a lot of people suggesting I start a biofloc system with the aquaponics. It's not something I really, I'm not too worried about using up those extra, actually, in our system at the moment, couldn't hurt. But generally, I want all the food to go to the plants. So it's not something I've considered. I'm probably going to balls this up, but I think it's the salmon system run, I think it's in Canada, aquaponic system, or maybe one of the other ones below the border in the States. They run a biofloc system because they have a high amount of waste come through, more than their planting area. I may be ballsing that up, and maybe somewhere in America, but yeah, some places do it to reduce the nitrate levels in the systems. But yeah, it's not something I worry about with mine. It's very big on aquaculture. A lot of them use it because you can then use that to grow feed for the system, and you're reclaiming the nutrients and just running it around through the system. No, I don't, because I get really White Wings is here. G'day, birdie. I get really sick with spores, mushroom spores. The other day, 2-3 weeks ago, I stuck my head in a washing machine that was moldy, and it laid me up for a good 3-4 days solid. I was crook as. I just don't risk doing the mushroom spores anymore. My understanding, though, is when we did our course that even though you collect spores, they may not grow true to type, just because how many different sex characteristics did they say? Like, ridiculous. Like there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different combinations within mushroom spores. I don't know if that's just all the oysters, but yeah, it's just not something I've tried. I have seen people online. I think is it fresh cap mushrooms? There's a couple of really good yeah, on the agar, and then yeah, there's a couple of people on YouTube that actually do culture their own spores, or I don't know if they do it all the time, or they've got videos just demonstrating how it's done. So it's very interesting, and I'm fascinated by fungus, and I still want to grow it. We're just going to set up somewhere proper for it outside, not in tents. And I'll wear a hazmat suit. I'll get one of those funky masks so I can look cool like everyone else, and yeah, walk around the backyard with it. It's got to the point where I was turning some compost a while back, the tree-based stuff, and same thing happened again. I got really cooked for 3 or 4 days, and so I'm just not risking it anymore. I'm sticking with aquaponics for the time being, and the soil pouches and wicking barrels, and yeah, just leaving the rest for other people at the moment. Yeah, so I'm not much help, mate. If you mean the fish, no. I do have the video from Bruce. G'day, Bruce, if you're watching. From the Jade Perch Man. He's now got he's in new premises. If you're interested and you're looking for Jade Perch and Silver Perch, he's selling them through the Jade Perch, I think it's called the Perch Man website. So check that out now. He's still doing the Jade Perch and the Silver Perch and all the rest of them. I did a video with him when he was at the old facility, Aussie Fish, and it actually goes through the spawning process. I have had someone say he had silver perch. He managed to do it in a tank culture, but they do have special requirements. They basically need to the larvae need to go out into ponds because they need to eat that the small little microscopic life forms, arthropods. Oh, just gone blank. Words not works. Itty bitty critties. It's the itty bitty critties within the soil-based pond culture, and as they grow up, then they move them onto crumble and feed, and they grow them up to the fry size that we then buy. So yeah, something I possibly could do when we get property. I'm very interested in trying having actual aquaculture dams set up and raising my own jade perch and silver perch. It would mean that we would need to move north around the Gympie to Bundaberg area. So if anyone up there's got cheap farm they want to sell, hit us up. Yeah, we would like to try to grow our own from scratch. So yeah. Back to the cold. Fish. Yep, it gets below -20. Yeah, I'd grow inside if you can. I know I've put him in it before, Michael. He doesn't have any videos online, but he and some other people that I've spoken to, they have their fish in the basement, and then they plumb it up so they can have a small amount of grow area under lights in their basement, and then during the warmer months they pump all the water out to a geodesic dome in Michael's case, where all the grow beds are set up, and he's got bullhead catfish from memory. I know he's got catfish in there anyway. Yeah, so they're nice and warm in the basement, and then yeah, the water goes outside. His up in I'm going to say Massachusetts. I either say Maine or Massachusetts, and he kicks me up the butt. But yeah, he's up there in that cooler region on the East Coast. So not a problem, mate. Not a problem. I'd love to shake your hand and have a beer. Unfortunately, that's all we can have, but yeah, not a problem. Western Australia. Yeah.
Do any of you guys come during winter?
I haven't, because I've run up the heater bill, the power bill, big time. A couple of $100 extra just for the jade perch to keep them going.
What's your
They're Boddington's down below Perth from memory. Have a Google. Have a Google. Yeah, I've water temp. I've been keeping it nice and toasty in there. There's some days where I've been able to feed them. It's gone up to 21, 22 degrees, but I've tried to keep it at least 16 degrees all over for the jade perch. I think the silvers, yeah, this is just an accumulative. So the water temp, I would say, would probably be around 10 to 14 there, if I'm not mistaken. It's normally 4 to 5 degrees warmer than the lows, I found, at least for us here. Yeah, we didn't lose any silver perch fish through the cooler months here. The jades, we lost one, but I think he just hit the side of the wall on an IBC. That was in the fish farm, but that was through winter. But we haven't lost any due to cold. You haven't had any denitrification and nitrite spikes or pH swings. It couldn't be one of the reasons. Because that's generally the issues I've seen with people's systems more than anything. As long as your water temp was over about 10, 12 degrees with the silvers, you should be okay. And as long as it comes down slowly, I should add, if it's gone from like 20 degrees down to 10 degrees the next morning, yeah, that's definitely not good for the fish. So. Yeah, you can do that there. Turn the pumps off at night for the grow beds. I actually had a guy did a experiment with that, and he found it didn't make much difference at all. The water stayed a little bit warmer, but as soon as he put the pump on the next day, that cold media and the cold water left in the grow beds flushed back into the system, and he found that the water temperature dropped after that. Whereas other folks I know, I think Colin did a video on it where he found that turning the pump off to the grow beds actually did stop that water temperature dropping. So I've never experimented with it myself, to tell you the truth, so I don't want to say definitively turn it off. But yeah, just do a bit of an experiment. Turn your grow beds off overnight, and then yeah, see what happens with your water temp. See if it goes up or goes down. No, I haven't. Yeah, that's I did do the pure crop one, and it works fine on all the aphids bar the little black onion aphids. They're a bugger to get off. I pretty much will just resign to whenever I see them now, pulling those plants out of the system and just hitting them with the hose outside the system, washing them all off. I found when I was spraying them inside the grow beds, I was knocking some off, but I was knocking enough off to repopulate and not killing them and crushing them with the jet spray. But I was just knocking them off into the media, and they were just taking off again. The good thing about the black onion aphids though is they only go for the allium family, so they won't. I saw them on the broccoli that was growing next to it, but they don't stick around there. They always come back to the onion. So just a bit of a tip with them: take the plants out, blast them with water, and then plant them in a different grow bed. Because if you plant them back there, removing the offending alliums is going to drop some of the aphids off, and they'll just hop back on. I haven't seen them infest any other plants. So that's the black ones. With the normal green aphids, I don't know what variety they are that we've had, and the white fly, blasting them with water and the pure crop one work for us. I have used the Dr. Bonner's, Dr. Bonner, isn't it? Yeah, Dr. Bonner's peppermint soap. It worked as well, not on the onion aphids. So yeah, I've used a few different products, and the soapy ones do tend to work. I tried diatomaceous earth years ago on aphids, and I didn't find that did much chop at all. But that is another one a lot of people recommend. Yeah, ladybugs. A bit hard if you just got a small yard with a small system or small garden. But every year we'd let broccoli go to flower, and they're like an aphid magnet, and keep it off in one sectioned area of the yard, and then the ladybugs just turn up, and we ended up with so many of the little larvae on there, and we'd take them from there, the larvae and the ladybugs from those plants, and move them to other areas around the yard, and they'd be on aphid patrol. So yeah, ladybugs are really good, and we can actually get them here in Australia. For ages, we couldn't buy them. We could only get the lacewings and mites and things like that. But yeah, I've seen now that a few places are selling ladybugs. Napalm. Yeah, but is it organic, Owen? Is it organic? Yeah. Another one too, I forgot, is alcohol, pure alcohol. I know a few people that spray that on the offending aphids, and it dries them out quick smart. We've got a whole heap of those isopropyl alcohol left over from sterilising for the mushrooms. I've set up Sam the other day. G'day, Sam, if you're watching. Probably not. I sent him home with some leftover mushroom supplies and some calcium hydroxide and kitty litter to set up his system. And I remembered we still have a whole heap of isopropyl alcohol, so I gave him a jar of that for sterilisation. Got to give him scalpels. But yeah, anyway, yeah, isopropyl alcohol apparently works really well. Yeah, he'll have his own scalpels. G'day to Western Australia. Creator is in. Yeah, if you could let us know, Red Scorpion, what you mean by that. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lost. Creator, you recommended again. Passive heating systems, you can use the black. If you're talking aquaponics, you can use the black wound up pipe and have a slow movement of water through there, just so it can passively heat in the sun. Mel down west of Sydney, g'day Mel if you're watching, she rang around and found a pool heater. It's a big plastic rubber, I think it was, mat that you roll out every winter to heat the water in your pool. She had a separate pump running through that, same thing. Black heats the water, and then that was running in for her sump. I think she kept her water temp around about 24 degrees, and the ambient temperature, this is Celsius of course, and the ambient temperature in the greenhouse around about 21 using that. And she just turned it on. I think it was on a timer, came on in the morning, shut off at night when the sun left it. And at the end of the season, I think she just rolls it up, flushes it with some fresh water, because I've done passive heating systems and left aquaponic water in the pipe, and it smells rather rank because it's so full of organics if you don't keep it flooding through. So that's one way. I really like the idea of using the ground if you want to heat a whole greenhouse. It's a pretty big project though, but you bury pipes, large diameter, probably 100 mil 4-inch pipes, anywhere from probably about 1.5 to 2 foot down under the soil, depending on what zone you are and how far the ground freezes. And you just pump air through that. So it's cooling in summer and it's warming in winter, because the soil at that level, 1.5 to 2 foot down, generally has a very constant temperature. So I think there's a couple of places around the world now where they're actually recommending that as a way to heat your home. Same thing. Oh, there's a video on the YouTubes of an orange guy he grows oranges. Sorry, he's not orange, not that one. He grows oranges in a greenhouse, and he uses that sort of passive heating technique. So that's something you can use. Another thing, when I was looking at solar greenhouses and hydroponics decades ago, when we first started with the permaculture thing, people were just painting bricks black, like Besser brick cinder blocks black, black drums, 44 or 50-gallon drums of water, just black on the sunward side of the greenhouse. Same idea. The sun hits it, heats up the water, large thermal mass in there, and it does bump depending on the size of the greenhouse, does pump the temperature up a bit. So something you could look into. Thank you, Fanatic Forager. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Oh, for winter. Oh no, he's not. Sorry, he's not a creator. He's a follower. He's one of our supporters through the Farm Your Own Yard site. So I think he may have posted a picture or two on some of the aquaponic groups ages ago on Facebook. Yeah, sorry about that. I've got some video of his indoor system that he filmed for me as B-roll. He's got one of those little AST bead filters, and yeah, he took some B-roll of that set up inside his basement, which is their great little system. Those filters, by the way, if you are inside the AST, they're a bio as well as a solids filter. Just a bit pricey here in Australia. Anyone from AST want to ship one over? I'll do a video on it. So, yep. Yeah. Yeah. I dare say it may have been a water temp thing, mate. Yeah, because you've been growing for years, you'd know if your water quality was slipping. So, but can you guys hear Bianca, by the way? Can you let us know? Because we're just using the onboard mic with the webcam. Was that the aphids? I think that was the aphids. Yeah, Steve answered him. Yeah, if it's the aphids, mate, fish friendly. Yeah, you can. Neem is fish friendly as long as you don't pour it into the system and spray it over like the grow bed when it floods and drains a lot. Some people say it's fine for fish. It's more worse off for your crayfish because what it does is it inhibits the azidotarin and it inhibits the molting and shedding of the insects. That's one way it kills them. So if you've got any crays or mollusks in the system, don't use it at all. But it does work. The same with the soap sprays. They're fine. If you're really concerned, just lay some newspaper down around the plants and then spray. Or I tend to just spot spray and just try not to get too much in the system as it is. I mean, the amount you're using probably, I use 1.5 to 2 teaspoons per litre. So that's 1.5 teaspoons per quart. So it tends not to be that much that it's going to harm the fish, especially if you're just spot spraying. So. Oh, so the fish. Can you give an alternative that's safe for fish if possible? I think that's about the other thing though. Yeah. Owen's question disappeared. What was it, Owen? Fill us in, buddy. How about I make a trip up there and I'll film your system? You can ask me then. Oh, you can ask me now. Oh, by the way, I have an aquaponics spud video coming next weekend, and I think you guys are going to be a little bit surprised because it blew me away. Owen's already seen. You get spoilers. Yeah, cool. Yep. No, good one, mate. So you're gonna, you said Western Australia. So what are you going to run over there? Are you down south, or are you going to run the Barra up north? I know a number of people who live up on way above Perth, and they all run their Barra up there. Yep. Oh, okay. She is here. She's that phantom arm you see every now and then. Come on, Bianca, from the bottom of the lungs. Yeah, sorry guys. I thought you could hear what Bianca's been saying because she has been offering advice along the line as well. So, out of questions. Scroll down a little bit. Looking at using 55-gallon plastic tanks. Yeah, so hope you heard B then. Looking at using some 55-gallon tanks painted black, yeah, that's a good way to get some heat in the system. We found just leaving the fish tanks where we had it set up in the old system, even though they're a beige colour, they had sun hitting them all winter, and I've only had to heat every now and then because our fish tank's underneath the deck at the moment, and the tank itself, the top part, probably the top foot of the tank gets sun in the morning for a little while. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, it just wasn't enough to heat the water up, unfortunately. Yes, I love you yelling in my ear. Like she snags and nags and nags and nags and nags. No, she doesn't. She's good. Super sticker was just a humble take. Oh, not a problem. Thanks, mate. Yeah, not a problem. I totally understand, mate. Yep, thanks. Just reading a message, guys. Rightio, Hillbilly sings as you can't hear, Bianca. I will read it. Might you get a greenhouse for your rainy season just for weather protection? That is something we definitely want, because I'm looking at doing some sand beds, and the amount of rain that sometimes we get here, it would be interesting to see how Owen goes with his. We get some pretty ferocious storms out here. I suppose all of southeast Queensland does at one point or another. But the size of the droplets are massive, and I don't think the mounds will stay very mounded for very long unless we have some sort of cover over the top. So what I would like to do is have a solid roof over the fish area, but it will be on such a way, an aspect that it will still get sun. Have all the water collected at the back and then from the roof, and then collected in a rainwater tank. Also have solar panels on there as well. And for the plant size, just have, I don't know what they call it this in the state, but Laser Light's the brand of a clear, transparent, like a fiberglass roofing sheet, just to let light through to the plants. I do know that someone told me that they did research, and all of the brand they were looking at, all of them had some UV protection in there, which means it strips some of the light spectrum out, as I understand it. So we're going to have to find something. I've even considered just using just the tracks, do a hoop house again, and use wiggle wire just to keep some, make a polytunnel just over the top, and then make some sort of rudimentary gutter system just to collect the rainwater. Just depends what the budget, what we can afford budget-wise. We're really focusing on saving as much as we can to buy a property. So I don't want to outlay a whole heap on the new greenhouse unless we can get some repurposed material. So from the bottom of your lungs.
The other issue here is airflow and mold, because we get so hot.
Yeah, airflow and mold. So yeah, I wouldn't do a fully enclosed polytunnel or greenhouse. I'd only do like a 1/3 over the top, and then just probably netting down the sides. Something like Hucho. If you've seen Hucho's little setup, it's a really nice little setup. Hop on over to Hucho's channel. He's got his little greenhouse build. I think he's regretting some of the ways he's set it up at the moment. But you live and you learn. He's not a carpenter by trade. So, but yeah, his little design it seems to do the trick. Sorry. Why did you steer away from Dutch bucket setup? Ours were more a Dutch barrel, and I just found they were that mid-size. Like a Dutch bucket is fantastic for tomatoes and things like that. Rob, again, from Bigelow Brook Farm, he's got videos on that from his growing season this year with tomatoes. Yeah, they work fine. It's just for us, with the layout of our systems and that small little footprint I had, I found the barrels really weren't feasible. I probably had about 3 50-gallon barrels, and I replaced it with a whole square meter worth of bed. Just more efficient use of space for me. But yeah, it's something we'll probably look at again in the future, especially like them for ginger and plants like that. The roots don't get ultra invasive, but it just keeps them away from the rest of the system, and you can just dot them around. Terry, if I ever go back to Terry's system, I think he's doing Dutch buckets. I think he might be doing pouches. Terry's the guy with the sand filter. G'day if you're watching this, mate. He was going to set up individual little buckets or pouches around the place, set up Dutch bucket style with just a drip through and then collected in the gutter and then sent out just around the outside for his ginger and turmeric bits and pieces. Midwest. Yes, rain is the devil. Although you're starting to hold up now. Yeah, Owen's doing a few nifty little things with his system, which you'll see in time flat. Midwest for some time. I've been contemplating using a windmill to provide water flow for brown or rainbow, incorporating marrow and yabbies of salvage. Cool. Not a problem, mate. Nice one. Yeah, we brown trout is one fish that I really would like to have a crack at. Just a little bit too warm here. I do know I've mentioned it before, Matt's chili fridge trout system, running it through a fridge. But yeah, it's just, yeah, a little bit too warm. With that, oh, I've still got coffee. Woohoo. Joe, g'day, Joe.
I was telling you, weather and it was cyclonic.
Oh, down south, yeah,
Yeah.
we're up in the same state.
Maybe too cold. If they- at some point,
Yeah,
a
it's
raincoat
yeah, you get 4 seasons in
and
one
a
day.
singlet in
Yeah,
one day.
4 seasons in one day down in Victoria. Oh, and it's blocking my question. You might be using a naughty word. I do have some words filtered out, so it might be something someone was using.
That's not
Bianca's doing it, Owen. Bianca's doing
right.
it. Yeah. So is there any more questions? Because I think my parents are about to turn up from church very soon. We haven't seen the olds for a while, so we're going to catch up with them before they head off for a bit of a trip up the coast. So, Bianca, do we have anything going on? Oh, the guinea pigs are still in their hutch. The tractor hasn't been moved out. Actually, I don't have a photo here. I use their hutches. The video I did, I don't know if you guys could tell, but the video we watched earlier actually read, there's the lack of ums and ahs probably gave it away, so's, ums and ahs, but I actually read off a teleprompter, which is this laptop sitting on top of a milk crate next to the guinea pig hutch. No, I did a photo. Don't show them Jack locked up in the guinea pig hutch. It's probably animal cruelty somewhere. It was just for a photo op. Yeah, I set up a little studio using milk crates and everything so I could read off the script, just because I found myself getting, I tend to go off on tangents when I shoot videos like that without a script, and I end up shooting like 4 hours worth of video and then trying to make something out of it and getting frustrated and all the rest of it. Can we grow fish feed? Does all fish feed come from the ocean? I know that there are, I was speaking to Bruce about this when we went up. One of the big questions I know people say that aquaponics is the most sustainable way, and I cringe to grow your food, and I cringe every time I hear it, because some places actually go out to harvest fish from the ocean to make feed, to turn it into fish feed, and then they sell it commercially, which just to me is insane. Most of the Australian fish feed is made from bycatch, stuff that, I mean, if you're a fisherman and you're catching fish, you try and get the top dollar. So all the good fish goes for top dollar. And then there are some fish that are substandard that is then turned into fish meal. I was looking at some the other day, writing a bit for the guide, and there's some places, and I was speaking to Bruce as well, there are some places that are looking for more sustainable sources of protein for the fish to replace fish meal. The classic is the flies, the maggots, the black soldier fly larvae, mealworms, and things like that. I prefer to feed mealworms and crickets to my food and then eat what comes out of it rather than eating mealworms and crickets myself. So there are moves to do that. But getting back to the whole sustainability things, people say aquaponics is sustainable. I don't think it is because of that. We're taking from the ocean. But if we don't continue to have aquaponics and we don't continue to have aquaculture that are driving the demand for more sustainable food, it's just the industry isn't going to evolve. And so we still need to, I've seen people, geez, I'm really messing this one up. I've seen people say we need to stop land-based aquaculture and aquaponics because we're raping the ocean to create feed, to feed land fish. If we don't have that demand for the food at the moment, there's no drive to develop a sustainable source for that feed. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah, soldier flies, yeah, soldier flies. Some fish will take them straight up. The jade perch, you've got to weed them onto it. I know a couple of people who've done that now. You can even, there are people I've seen make their own fish feed out of soldier fly. They dry them out, grind them up, make the pellets and all the rest of it. It's a really full-on process. But at the same time, in saying that, fish also need a complete food or they're not going to develop and they're going to end up with, I think it was trout. Someone was saying they got deformities from their trout because they were only feeding them basically food, insect-based foods. They weren't getting a whole the whole spectrum of nutrients they needed. That was quite a while ago. I think it might even be on the Backyard Aquaponics forum. So it is online somewhere, but yeah, it's the whole sustainability thing. Unless we keep requesting more sustainable food from the manufacturers, they're just not going to do it. There's a couple of industry email news bulletins that you can get, and yeah, every now and then they'll crop up an article or crop up organic fish food. Aquaponics is actually driving this because, here we go. I hope I'm not getting too confusing and muddled, folks. The whole drive for the organic feed is coming from the aquaponics side of things, because people want to know that the plants they're growing are from registered organic sources. Not only that, the fish feed that goes into the tanks doesn't have all the nutrients, as I mentioned in the earlier in the video, and why we add potassium in, and sometimes you need iron and magnesium, other elements. There's a drive to make the fish food more complete. So the fish will assimilate what they need. It'll have to probably be species-specific food. They can assimilate what they need, but then what's left over is enough to drive a basic. I think they're looking at just doing salad, like things for salad greens, so your basils, your lettuce, some of your Asian greens. There'll be enough nutrients left over, so you don't have to supplement the aquaponic system with those other things. I mean, you're still going to have to buffer it because the nitrification process strips alkalinity in that. So maybe a bit of calcium here and there in a lime form, the garden lime, calcium carbonate or hydroxide form. But yeah, there are drives to do that, and it is a good thing that we are pushing them as an industry to do it. So I think there's already organic feed available over in the States. I know there's a mob in South Australia that sells an organic fish feed, but it's not complete for the plant side of things. So I hope you like my little rant there. Hello, Angus. Oh, hello, Angus. You weren't here last night. We hosted his brother and one of his sisters here last night, and the sister had a bit of a drinky poos, hence why I'm a little bit. Oh, it did. Meters. Yes, give us a thumbs up if you heard D. No, I haven't. I have contemplated it though. And then I saw the levels after we took the fish out of the last systems, and I ran it for about 2 months without having to add any nitrogen source. I ended up using the Charlie Carp. Basically, I fed the whole system on Charlie Carp with additions of iron. I found I was still getting iron deficiencies. So everyone heard? Yep, heard her. Yep. Yeah, so I haven't done a backwards calculation, but yeah, it is something that does make sense to try and work out how long in between. It's yeah, no, that's something I will think about when I have a clearer head. Terry? Sorry, Owen. Question, do you have a formula for airflow rate per gram of fish or something like that? I work on the basis of a sensibly, when I say this, a sensibly stocked fish tank. So you've got 1 fish per 25 litres or 6.6 gallons of water. And it's just a bit of a rule of thumb where you're just basically providing the volume, same volume of air as there is water in your fish tank every hour. So a minimum turnover rate for water is once the tank volume once an hour. And I do the same with air in, at least that volume of air going in there. Literally with air, you cannot add too much air into an aquaponic system. I mean, you can make it uncomfortable for the fish if it's bubbling like a spa continuously. But I haven't heard of anyone adding so much air in that they've caused oxygen, too much oxygen to go in. I have been told though by an aquaculture guy that you can actually add too much. The guys that use straight oxygen, you can add too much in, but I mean, it's very hard to do, and you have to deliberately try to do it, especially in a backyard setting. So I hope that helps, Terry. I feel bad about not answering Owen properly. Naughty words, maybe, ha ha ha. I saw your comment about that fish feeder gadget today. No, Oscars, I would like to grow Oscars. I would like to have, used to visit friends of friends that had Oscars, and they used to feed them all sorts of weird and wonderful critters. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're invasive in a lot of places around the world. I think there's some we can't have here in Queensland. I hear the front door shut too, so we've been stopped soon. Yeah, there are a few varieties we can have, but I think they are. I did download the invasive fish species in Queensland. I didn't realise we had pacu. Apparently, there's pacu in the waterways here in Queensland. I don't know where though. It's called Philido fish, the docker. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. There's a documentary on a Nordic company that sold toxic feed. The doco was based on fish ponds based in Vietnam. Yeah, one good thing about our feed, unless there's one brand that says it's Australian, but then when you get the packet, it's all in Chinese. It comes from it even comes from Taiwan or Thailand. No offense to those people. I don't think they're trying to rip us off and sell us dodgy food. The company is a well-known international one, but I prefer to stick with Ridley's, which is an Australian-based company. They do source some of their feed materials from overseas, but they're an Aussie base and they have fairly strict standards. I mean, yeah, I won't get into that, but anyway, they do have fairly strict standards, though. We know we're getting fairly good feed here in Australia. I haven't heard Jack go crazy. Maybe they're not here. Hi, Mum. Everyone say hi, Mum. Do you want to go back to the questions just quickly? It did look sus. Yes, it did look very sus. If you're in, I think it's Brisbane Aquaponics. It's another Aussie-only group. I don't have anything to do with that one. But yeah, if you remember, if Brisbane Aquaponics has a funky-looking meter in there. It was in Cairns. Yeah, I knew they were in Australia. Yeah. So anyway, folks, thank you very much for coming along, and thank you very much for the super sticker as well. I really appreciate that, mate. Hi, Mum. Joe said hi, Mum. Hi, Dad. Hi, Nana from Angus. Jack, do you want to come and say good day quickly? No? There's visitors. Okay. Anyway, we will wrap it up there, folks. I might release this. I'll keep this up for about a week. I'll just see how it goes, but I'd prefer to have the standalone video be the one that everyone watches. Otherwise, they're going to see my hairy mug just ramble on about crud on here to begin with and not view the video. So people are very fickle about what they see in the first 30 seconds of videos here on YouTube. You've got to keep the algorithm happy and well fed. Oh, by the way, if you're on Rumble, sub me over on Rumble and watch the videos over on Rumble. I'm not necessarily tied to YouTube. I'm not in this to become a millionaire or anything like that, so I don't mind if you go over and watch them on Rumble. It'd be good to see that platform get a bit of a kick in the bum. And also, too, they also have their own Patreon or farm your own style supporter website called Locals that is attached to it. So they've emailed me and they want to chat to me about setting up a community over there. I mean, I've got the Farm Your Own Yard one. There's the YouTube membership community. I've had people ask me to start up a Patreon account again, even though I left Patreon, and they said they were going to only support me if I started Patreon. Guess what? They vanished in air. I started one for nothing, no one over there. I prefer you actually support me through Farm Your Own Yard if you're going to. But anyway, yeah, Locals have they want me to have a chat to them about setting up a community over there. So if you feel like supporting the channel by sending us a couple of bob, the coffee addiction, the farm fund, or to feed the fish, by Jack and Kong. Yeah, feel free to. We really do appreciate it. We don't, drink all the money we get sent. It's only a one-off. Bianca's hurting me now. Wrap it up. See you guys. Hope you had a good one. Cheers all. Say goodbye, Bianca.